At Palm Tree, we're not just about numbers and strategies and M&A advisory. We're also about culture, and we're proud of ours, built on collaboration, development, and community. One of our cornerstone core values, a value that speaks to the type of environment fostered here at Palm Tree, is stay frosty. Stay frosty means not being afraid of rolling up your sleeves to do the hard work. It means taking care of yourself so you can show up when it really matters. It means having ice in your veins when the pressure is on, and also knowing how to let down your hair and have some fun. If you picture yourself as a stay frosty type of person, and you are seeking more than just a job, but a place where you can truly grow your career and your M&A skill set, reach out and inquire about opportunities at Palm Tree. There is a link in this episode's show notes where you can learn more and apply.
There are three key pillars that make up a killer recruiting strategy for management consulting roles. In this episode, the team at Management Consulted shares what those three pillars are so that you can create and execute an amazing recruiting strategy in 2024 to land your dream roles. In addition, you'll learn about key mistakes that you should avoid making at all costs, and we'll share some amazing resources to supercharge your journey this year. If you're finding value in the podcast, please take 20 seconds to give us a rating and review to help more people find the show. The more ratings and reviews that Apple Podcasts and Spotify sees, the more they'll show the podcast to new people. So it does really help us out. It takes about 20 seconds. So go ahead, pause right now, and go leave a rating and review. We really do appreciate it. Without further ado, let's get into today's episode.
There are three, what we call A pillars to a great recruiting strategy. You could also use a play on words there to say there are three pillars to a great A recruiting strategy. And so we're not interested in helping people get part of the way to a career of their dreams. We think that there are multiple things that you can and should do. And just a brief story to provide you with some context. If you haven't met me before, I'm Jenny Ray LaRue. I'm an ex-Bain consultant, the CEO of Management Consulted. And when I entered into the consulting space, out of access, ability, and acceleration, I actually only had one of the three. And I only had a little bit of. I went to a target school, but did absolutely zero networking or recruiting while I was at the target school. Why? I didn't think I wanted to do consulting. I was focused on medicine. So I was doing all my pre-med classes. Then I took a year, I shaved my head and traveled around the world. And I discovered that I actually was fascinated by and loved business. And I felt like that was going to be something I wanted to build in. But I didn't go right from there to try for consulting. I began to build my own small business in South Africa, which ironically, or maybe not ironically, now that I look back on my life, was a consulting business. And then years after that was when I finally had the opportunity to go into Bain. However, because I'd gone to a target school, my natural network was at Bain. Right? Some of those people went to Bain, some of them were at McKinsey, some were at BCG, Deloitte, United, other firms. So I actually had, because of my natural network from my education, a pretty decent amount of access. And actually waiting until after I graduated a couple of years meant that my access got stronger, not weaker. But what I didn't have was ability. And I very quickly learned this when I was going through a mock interview with a friend of mine from McKinsey, who at the end of it told me that it was the worst case interview she had ever seen. I had no ability. I didn't have a great resume. I traveled for a year. Like y'all, I was in a backpack. I had braids. There was nothing that was going on for me that was professional in terms of my development during that year. So I had to really work on crafting my story, building some more contemporary experience, and preparing for the full process: fit interviews, case interviews, cover letter, resume. The third piece, though, that I didn't know that I was missing was acceleration. Like I thought that this was the same as any other career, where you just pick one firm, you make an application, you do an interview, and you get the job. But if any of you have been around consulting for more than 5 minutes, you've probably already begun to recognize that is not how this industry works. And there are a lot of ups and downs. Some of them are emotional and discouraging. And so a lot of us, whether we don't know where to go, which is the access, whether we don't know how to get there, which is the ability, or we don't have the endurance to complete the process, there's a lot that can be missing or that could go wrong to create a non-A great recruiting strategy. So with that, let me dive into the 3 things and some tips for what you can do to more effectively access this industry. Let me just say that our primary focus for today is going to be on those of you that are interested in getting jobs in consulting, but it's not all that we do. At Management Consulted, we actually offer 3 lines of business. We support universities to help their students gain access to these types of jobs. Consulting Plus is really how we think about it. That includes mock interviews. We do trainings that are group trainings. We have an online digital platform. We help job seekers do the same thing. So we walk you through programs and support, but we also help companies. A lot of people, while they gain access into the company, they enter without the ability to think and structure analysis and presentations strategically. And they also lack the endurance and the encouragement from the internal structure of the organization to succeed. So if you are in one of those other categories, universities or corporates or businesses, if you're interested in setting up your own consulting firm, while today's focus is largely going to be on job seekers, I know you're going to find something of value as well. So let me just talk through how your recruiting strategy starts. It really begins with access. And if you go back to this slide, a lot of people are surprised by that. They think the first place that a consulting journey should start is actually with ability. You have to qualify for it. But consulting is a very relationally organized business. And we find that people of wide varying abilities, that means with your different educations, with different opportunities that you've had before you, with different work experience, can fit somewhere inside the ecosystem. So really, if that's the truth, maybe you haven't honed your ability, maybe your resume doesn't reflect your ability, maybe you need to continue some more practice for your ability, but actually the biggest hindrance is not ability. For most people, it's access. And so that's why we begin there. That's why we think you should begin there. That's why a lot of people come to us 6 to 12 months into a case prep process. And the first question that we ask you isn't, how many cases have you done? It's, who are you talking to in the industry? Which firms do you have openings for? And so we really want to help you recalibrate today to really think first about access. So the firms that are right for you is a part of access. It is unreasonable to believe that every firm will be right for everyone. That can be hindered by or challenged by geography. It can be opened up by geography. It can be hindered by your GPA. It can be hindered by your work experience. It can be hindered by the major that you chose. The right firms for you, there's so much opportunity in this space, and we cover more than 500 different consulting firms a year, and every month we're discovering more that we never knew existed. And so consulting as an industry is large, growing, and there are huge pockets of opportunity for you. You might not know where they are, but I just want to start by saying this is an industry that is not closed to you. There are sometimes different stair-stepping that you'll need to do in order to enter into the industry. Some of you cannot go to McKinsey today. Like, there isn't a pathway for you to go. You don't have the right education experience or XXXXX. But there is a pathway for you to go to many places inside the industry, and there is a pathway to go for you to go wherever if you give it enough time and enough steps to get there. The second piece is the right people inside the firms. A lot of us from the outside didn't know who we should be talking to. Now, I had a couple of friends that were from my university, but I also, my dad worked in a company and he used consultants, and I didn't even think about accessing him until I was 3 months into my job search. And he said, actually, I work with consultants. Should I talk to somebody? Well, those people were partners at organizations, and I had a natural network that I never thought about. They weren't McKinsey consultants or Bain consultants, but they were human resource consultants, which was a field that I hadn't looked at before. So the right firms for you and the right people inside the firms, finding that target, knocking on the right door is kind of one of the first key things. Here are also just some factors that people don't have. And I really want to say very explicitly here that the network you have is the network you build. So a lot of people enter into this space and feel immediately discouraged because you play the comparison game and you're like, oh, well, they grew up in a high net worth family and they went to the right school and they did the right career. No, that's not how this works. There are factors of connection where you can build a network, and the network that you build becomes a larger network over time. So the earlier you start it, the more amplified it becomes. The access fails when you don't build a network along the following 5 dimensions. First is region. So micro network in the place where you are. I tried from university in Virginia to go to California to work. My natural network from my university was in New York and DC and Philadelphia. Those were proximate to the school that I went to. And so if you want to go to a new region, you will have to micro target inside that region. There is only one strategy for consulting recruiting that never, ever works, and that is targeting all regions at all times. Because if you tell somebody, I'll go anywhere, you sound and look desperate. If you tell them, I have 3 top choices, and you micro network in each of those areas, building a network within a region creates opportunity. Quick story about this. When I moved to South Africa as an expatriate, I moved there for 3 months and I tried to get a job. It's very challenging to get a job if you're applying and you're not able to legally work there unless someone sponsors you. I'm sure that many of you who are internationals can relate to that feeling. So somebody in a meeting with me told me, hey, welcome to this region. You're in the right place, but you're asking the wrong question. And they helped me reposition to a consulting style of business instead of a job orientation. That micro region understanding built a network that for me still exists today. I still meet with business colleagues as well as friends in South Africa when I go to visit. Education is a powerful network. For those of you that have an undergrad, a specialty master's, an MBA, an advanced degree that's a PhD, your education provides access and doors to you. And I just want to say it's not just your school, but it's peer schools like yours. If you went to a large state school, access through education provides opportunities. For example, like I went to the University of Virginia. A peer school to the University of Virginia is Berkeley. I wouldn't have thought that my network was UVA and Berkeley, but it is, because those at Berkeley understood a similar context, similar environment, had similar opportunities, however, in different firms in different regions. If you went to a small liberal arts school, or you're in a small liberal arts school, let's call Swarthmore. Swarthmore is one of our partners, a small liberal arts school. Students who go to another small liberal arts school, let's call it Washington and Lee, right, in Virginia. Washington and Lee, they are a part of your natural network, even though you don't think about it. And so a lot of people don't understand that peer groups inside education, I'm not even talking about people that are graduating the same year as you, I'm talking about people who ever went there. Right? That is your natural network for education. Your industry or your major is the third one, right? Let's say you're an engineer. Every engineer is all of a sudden an opportunity for you to network. Anyone who studied engineering but did something differently afterwards is an opportunity for you to network. The industry organizations that you're a part of, the majors that you complete, create a network for you. Hopefully this is raising the level of hope in the group that we have on the call today, because I think a lot of people feel like they have limitations simply because they haven't understood how expansive their natural networks are. Number 4 is the level that you apply to. A lot of people try to go to a level that doesn't make sense. And a common mistake is that you'll look to seniority because you assume that somebody with a higher level has more power. You're not necessarily wrong, but with the higher power inside the organization often comes a lower level of focus, interest, or passion for helping you. Let's say you're an undergrad, junior, and you're thinking about an internship. Talking to a manager whose actual responsibility is to recruit the next generation of managers, not going to be a really compelling thing. They don't want to talk to you. You're not the right fit inside an organization. And so finding those people who have not just interest, but authority can often be surprising inside organizations. Another common mistake on the level side is that people assume that recruiters are the number one people that they should be messaging or mentioning to them inside the firm. From a networking perspective, recruiters don't add a lot of value. From a process perspective, they add significant value. Super different mindset though. Number 5 is interest. I worked at Bain with a woman who took her next job. She's now in the C-suite of this very large public company organization based on a mutual love for skiing. She met the guy in Colorado on a lift. They connected. They exchanged information. She was unhappy at Bain, wanted to leave. He wanted someone on his team. She went over. She quadrupled her Bain salary when she entered there. And that was 15 years ago. A shared interest of skiing opened a door to a business conversation. And I think a lot of you are compelling and interesting and fascinating people, but you might keep your interest world, what you like to read, where you like to travel, your social life separate from your business life. But everyone else that you interact with has these 5 levels of networking resources. And just think about the opportunity, even if you have coffee with one friend, of the doors that it could open for you. So access fails when you don't build a network. But who do you network with? Which firms are the right ones to go to? New firms are the new norm, right? So we still do a large portion of our assistance and business in helping people break into McKinsey, Bain, and BCG. If you want to go there, there is no one better in the world to help you than Management Consulted. We are thrilled to be the leader in helping people break into these nearly impossible firms. We're great at it. That's how we built our entire programming. But some of you don't want to go there. Some of you can't go there yet. Some of you need other options to help leverage your way to open a door inside those organizations. And so I put on this page, new firms that are the new norm. And we really break down opportunities in multiple different areas when we think about helping people stair step through their career. The first is one industry, multiple practice. This is often what we have traditionally thought of as corporate, but inside the corporate, there are consulting-like jobs. That used to be only internal strategy or internal consulting. Now, it's so many different things: product management, project management, marketing, organizations that squad themselves around data, analytics, and process. And when you think about those things, those are the core of the skills that you want to learn inside consulting. If you go from a non-brand name firm to Capital One, do you know how much easier it is to go to Bain or Deloitte? So easy. So for a lot of you, the stair step through a corporate opportunity is going to be one of the first steps that you'll take. The second opportunities are the ones that we've traditionally thought of as consulting. Multiple industry, multiple practice firms. These firms work across multiple different areas: oil and gas, tech, media, and telecom. They work on aviation, right? And the variety of industries is part of what they do, but they also help with supply chain and top line growth and staffing and different parts of the organizations. Multiple industry, one practice, or a lot of where we're seeing the boutique area focus. And a lot of people didn't know that these firms existed or that they provide the same rotational experience that you have inside consulting that provides opportunity for you to train. And by the way, I'm not just saying that all of these are feeders into MBB. Like, some people will build your whole career at these incredible firms. They're amazing. You should stay there. They're going to give you promotions, pay, and opportunities that are parallel to the same types that you could get at McKinsey, Bain, and BCG. But because people haven't heard of them as much, their competitiveness to get in is less. So with those opportunities come open doors for you. The final one is one industry, one practice firms. These firms are amazing for those of you that have real specialty areas. I'm starting to talk to my PhDs and my MDs right now, right? Like, if you're an MD and you're like, what I really want to do is work in oil and gas, it just sounds weird. What? Like, how did that happen? And where did that come from? That transition over, you can make it, but it's going to be a lot trickier. But go to one of these firms that focuses in healthcare. You're the perfect candidate for them. You have the healthcare plus the strategy training that you've demonstrated through your case interview. And so because of this, I think it's really important to recognize that there are so many firms that are out there with which you can build an incredible career. And some of you are going to branch off and leverage across multiple firms. And some of you are going to go to one of these places and spend your whole lives there. And you're going to love it too. So new firms are the new norm.
We'll be right back after this quick break.
Have you ever heard a new digital trend and thought to yourself, okay, does this really matter? Asking the right questions helps you cut through the noise and get down to what matters most. I'm Jim Hertzfeld, host of the What If, So What podcast, where we discover what's possible with digital and figure out how to make it real by asking what if, so what, and most importantly, now what? Subscribe and listen, and together we can turn big ideas into tangible actions so you can get shit done.
Hey, Strategy Simplified. It's Japheth here, your producer, and I really quickly wanted to pop in to tell you about Black Belt. So if you're targeting a consulting role at a firm like McKinsey, Bain, BCG, Deloitte, Oliver Wyman, Accenture, you name it, Black Belt is a structured case prep program that might be exactly what you need to push you over the hump and land that offer. So it is a structured case coaching program where you'll get one-on-one coaching from a former McKinsey, Bain, or BCG consultant. You'll also get a year of free access to our new community for exclusive employer info sessions, training, master classes, community support, and much more. Last but not least, you get unlimited digital materials to support your case prep progress. Oh, and by the way, over 80% of Black Belts who complete the program land a consulting role. That's pretty incredible. So we'd love to see you inside of Black Belt. Join at the link in the show notes. All right, let's get back to the episode.
All right, so we'll work now through abilities. This one we talk about a lot, so this might not be as much of a surprise. I think a lot of you are actually quite aware of where you lack your ability. You might not know how to get better, but you're definitely aware of where the lack is. So there's the application, the case, and fit interviews. And so for each one of those, I'm going to break those down. But ultimately, we find a lot of people that have a pretty good application but are underprepared in case. We find an extraordinary number of people who are unprepared for the fit interview. And this is really how we think about the 3 steps of the process. The application gets you the interview. The case gets you the second round. The fit interview gets you the offer. And if all 3 of those aren't in place, you're going to stall out at one part of that process, right? No good application, you're not going to get an interview. No good case, you're not going to get second round opportunities. You might get a lot of second round opportunities if you're great at case, but if the fit isn't there, you're not going to get the final offer. And we don't really have, we're not incentivized for people to get offers. We just care. We want you to get offers. And so we don't stop until you get the offer that you're looking for. And that's why we work through these 3 levels here. Step 1 is the application. Everybody needs a resume. No firms don't have resumes. But there are 3 other pieces of an application that often are the tipping point. You have a good resume, 3.6 GPA, target school, analytical major, pretty good, details about your background. Fantastic, right? The resume itself might need some help. We do resume reviews for free. If you haven't done one of those, we're happy to share with you. We do them on a call. If you want to book our service and you want to understand how we would adjust your resume, we do them by email. If you just want to yes or no, this is ready or it's not. The other 3 pieces, though, the tests, this is like the McKinsey test, the BCG test, anybody who runs an analytical AI or kind of strategic test that's similar to a GMAT or a game that you play, the cover letter, which historically has been written, but BCG for their Bridge to BCG programs for the first time this year, guess what they're doing? Video cover letters. New things that we're beginning to see in different spaces. You've got to be a wonderful communicator, a tremendous storyteller, and people who just pop on and say something, it's not going to work. People who read something, also not going to work. You need to be a compelling presenter in order to demonstrate that opportunity. And the third is essays. And so for those of you that are going through the APD programs, Bridge to BCG, the Clearview process, Bain's program, any one of these programs, McKinsey Insight, any one of these programs require you to explain a leadership story from your background, a challenge that you've overcome. That essay is another component. So while the resume sets up great expectations, there's often still opportunity there. What really the fall down can be, though, is on the other parts of your process as well. Step 2 is the case interview. You can fail in 8 different ways, and actually 8 times 400 different ways, because each one of these has multiple different options for failing. These are the 8 parts of the case interview. We take this from our case interview workshop. MC built a methodology to help you break down case interviews and quickly prepare for the all-encompassing case interview. We want you to succeed. We don't want you to be hindered by a lack of understanding. But many of you would go through the reps of cases without understanding it's actually just the quant questions. 1 out of 8 things that's making you fall down. Our coaching process helps you identify this. Our digital process helps you do the drills. to improve. And so the case interview is something, I mean, we have a full 3-hour workshop on this that we run with schools. So not to be cursory about the fact that the case interview is nearly impossible, and we get it, but the case interview is a really tremendously important part of the case process. However, solving it doesn't mean doing it more. Solving it means doing it better. And breaking it down into the component pieces helps us do that effectively. And then the most often forgotten piece, people think, once I did the hard stuff of that resume and that edit, once I jumped into the case interview, like all I have to do is get into the final round. False. The final round, 50% or more of your score is how you fit with the organization. Some partners don't even do case interviews in the final round. They're like, whatever, you did a case, you got here, you're fine. Tell me about your future. Tell me about your plans. How do you think? What's your challenge that you faced that you want to have me know about you? What do you think scares you about this role? So there are a bunch of questions, and we have all of them inside, again, our digital courses, right? But direct questions, story questions, and tricky questions. The direct questions that are available here, the focus is on the things that you need to, that you will be asked, that you will be expected to have prepared linear answers for. Story questions are open-ended questions. You need to have 15 stories prepared for those. Most people have 3. Then tricky questions are the questions like, if I can't hire 3 people, why should you be one of the only one that I hire, right? Or if I came across this issue ethically inside an organization, or what's a time that you failed? We call these the tricky questions here. Helpful? These are the 3 pieces. And again, a lot of people focus so much on the resume portion, telling your story, building the right experience. These other parts kind of get left in the dust, or they happen right at the last minute. It happens a lot that people are like, oh, I'm going to just apply. And then if I get an interview, I'll prep. The firms recently, y'all, you have 10 days, maybe, to prepare. The opportunities for those of you who are not core in their hiring pathway, it might be 3 days. And so you really need to have your fit interviews prepared, and you need to have a baseline of case so that you're not trying to do it all at the last minute. The last piece is acceleration. So when the timing is right, you'll get acceleration through the process. Life changes drive your motivation. So the life changes that drive your motivation are, for example, graduating, moving to a new city, finishing a job, whether you leave or they fire you, right? Life changes drive your motivation. We see a lot of people that come to us that are kind of like, well, now the time is right because X, Y, or Z in my life changed. The second piece is that firm deadlines drive opening and opportunities. So it is true that you can feel like you are preparing yourself for 3 months and nothing happens. But then the firm deadlines open, where an opportunity comes through your networking pipeline, and those openings and opportunities create a 2-week window where you're super glad for the 3 months of work that you put in advance. The last part is community support. So community support that drives endurance. Community support that drives endurance. This is a piece that is present at some schools, missing at others, missing largely from the larger organizations that we're all a part of. And certainly when we feel like we're doing this alone, we do everything we know how to do, but when we run out of ideas, we have nowhere to go. So community support doesn't necessarily provide you with all of everything that we just talked about. There's a lot of work that you'll have to do, but it can definitely encourage you with the structure that's needed to provide the endurance for the long haul.
Looking for expert help to break into consulting? Join our Black Belt Case Prep program. We will edit your resume and cover letter. We'll prep you for case interviews through 8 or more one-on-one coaching sessions, and we'll help you execute a killer networking strategy. Link to join and learn more is in the show notes. Thank you for being a valued listener of Strategy Simplified. If you're getting value out of this, we'd love your rating and review. It takes about 20 seconds. Go ahead, check that out. All right, we'll see you on another episode of Strategy Simplified soon.